Hey guys, this is AJ coming to you Wednesday night. Today is July 24th. And yes, it is Wind Down Wednesday, episode 8. Well, tonight I decided to edify my husband. So, tonight's topic, or shall I say title, is dedication to my hubby. Yes. So, as you hear in the background, I'm listening to the great Glenn Jones. We've only just begun. The romance is not over. My husband loves this song. And it's not because it's smooth and it's old school. He has an old spirit. So he loves old music. Especially old church folk music. Actually, let me rephrase it. Not old church folk, old church music. That's what I meant to say. Don't hurt me, Grandma. But my husband is, and I am not just saying this because he is my husband. I will be the first one to say my husband is nowhere near perfect. Not at all. But he's perfect for me. And my husband doesn't even try to pretend that he knows it all. He's the first one to tell you he probably don't know. But my husband is humble enough to find out whatever it is that needs to be found out. The great thing about my husband is, well, for one, we got married when I was 29 years old. So backing up to, I had this single mentality for 29 years of my life. Independent woman. I don't need you for nothing. Why are you here? Point blank. But I tend to have a very strong, aggressive demeanor at times. And for some men, or for some men who are not used to dealing with a strong woman per se, that can be a little bit intimidating. So they either don't want to deal with it, or they just choose not to deal with it, or they just choose not to make it worth their time. Well, my husband did. And my strong demeanor does not bother my husband because he makes it very clear he is the head of this household, and when necessary he makes it very clear, I've made this decision and that's final. And when he says that, my lips are sealed because my husband has spoken. But I just want to edify him because he is just so amazing. He is so amazing. We have been together now for 5 years. We've only been married for 2.5 years, but the last, I would say, after our first 6 months of being together, I was deployed overseas to Iraq. So from there, coming home and having to adjust with that, and just adjusting with my mindset and just dealing with life and everything that deals with that, he could have just walked away from me. He really could have. Because at the time, I just withdrew myself from everyone, and including him. But he stood right by my side. He never turned his back on me, because one, we was friends first, and he remembered who Alicia was. He didn't care about who the person was that came home that was a little challenged, a little disturbed, that was a little off, because he knew my heart. And outside of that, my husband just, I've dealt with so many different things, and I want to do this, I want to do that, and he is my number one supporter. He supports me in anything I do. And the first thing that comes out of my husband's mouth, whenever I say, babe, I want to do this, I want to try this, what do you think? His first response is, have you prayed about it? And honestly, sometimes that's the last thing that comes to my mind. Well, I'm not going to say the last thing, but that just probably is not something in the forefront of my mind. And my husband reminds me of that. But my husband is just so unbelievable. He never seems to amaze me. And it's just so funny how we are just so in tune. I can be having just one of them days where I'm just, I told someone today, I said, can you just keg me and kick me in the river and let me float? Let me just float. I want to become one with the water and just float. Still alive, of course, but I just want to float. I just want to just relax. I want to hear the waves. I just want to just float. But my husband, out of nowhere, he will call. He will either text. He will do something. This is actually him calling right now. I'm going to pause him and call him back in a minute. He knows the perfect thing to say. It just never fails. He makes sure he asks how my day is doing. And he makes sure that no matter what, I know that I am truly loved unconditionally, no matter what. We as women sometimes, and as we get up in age, I'm 32 years old, we tend to add on a couple of pounds, and it can become very, very frustrating for a woman. And there has been times where I've gotten a little discouraged, but my husband, he sees me the same way from when the day he first met me, and he loves me even more. He appreciates my vulnerabilities and me being vulnerable to him at times, because I tend to hold in a lot. I tend to not be as sensitive as others as far as I'm very sensitive. Let me correct that. I'm very, very sensitive, but as far as the emotional and crying, that tends not to be me, only because of the things that I've been through in life, to where I become numb to it. So when I do become emotional, it can be very, very, it's a shock to my husband, for one. And I'm kind of getting off subject a little bit, but something that my point of my story is, yes, I'm very grateful for having a wonderful husband, a loving husband, a supportive husband, someone who loves me unconditionally. That is the greatest feeling in the world. I know that no matter what, this man loves me. Now, the biggest piece of that, the biggest part that I'm trying to share with you all is, I appreciate it. I appreciate him so much, because if this man would have come into my life maybe 7 years ago, I would not have appreciated him. I can almost guarantee you he would not be my husband. But it took me to go through the fire, the storm, the headache, the heartache, and to get past that, allow myself to properly heal, to appreciate this gift from God. And I truly believe that he was specifically made for me, and vice versa. So what do I do with that? I make sure I tell my husband I appreciate him. And there's so many different ways that you can tell your spouse, your significant other, that you appreciate them. One, by listening to them. One, by respecting their views, their opinions, what they have to say, or the decisions that they make for the two of you. Another way that you can actually show your appreciation is just tell them. Whatever your person method of affection is, do it. Every man is different. Every person is different. So I can't say just because I do these things for Jeffrey, it's going to work for you, because everybody is different. So it goes back to what I'm saying. Communicate. Communicate, communicate, communicate. And Just because you've been with somebody for years does not mean that you completely know them. Yeah, for the most part you do. But as time progresses, as each of you grow individually, things change. So you should be always communicating with one another to see what has changed or what hasn't changed, to see what makes them tick and what doesn't make them tick, to see what puts the biggest smile on their face and what doesn't. I encourage each and every one of you, and this is directed to the ladies tonight, tell your significant other that you love them. Tell them that you appreciate them. And if your person responds more by touch or by words or by visual display of affection, do it. Do it tonight. Do not let their eyes close without doing it. Even if it is sending a text message, calling them, writing a letter, writing an email. I don't know. Whatever you have to, if it's throwing a rock at their window, if that's how you two operate, do it. But make sure you let that person know you appreciate them. And I'm going to end with this. Mr. Stokes, my babe, the number one man in my life outside of God. I love you with all of my heart. You are my rock. And again, guys, this is Wind Down Wednesday, episode 8, dedication to my hubby. This is AJ, and I'm out. Good night, guys.